Hi, everybody. I'm Chase Norland. I'm the founder and CEO of AlphaBird. We have James Smith here with us from Disney Online, who's VP of Online Ad Sales there. And there's a reason, actually, why my shirt sleeves are pulled up here, because we're going to actually get into the nitty-gritty details of video syndication, of online video. It's been fairly macro to date. I've been watching the panels. There's some really smart people up here. We got into some good details. But I want to really get into what's happening, because Disney and AlphaBird are collaborating on actually syndicating this online video content, doing it for a bunch of other clients and studios as well. And we want to really get into actually what's happening. What's a video view? What's an engagement? So I'm just going to dive right in. Hopefully this will get going. There we go. Extending your audience campaign. So very briefly, AlphaBird, pure play video syndication company. What that means is our clients are brands, agencies, movie studios, in fact, a variety of video ad networks that use us to guarantee audience for their video content. That's really key. This is not ads. This is not in-banner video. This is not arbitrage. This is not pre-roll. This is what we call long-form video. Long-form video, in our description anyway, kind of falls into a couple of different buckets. First is we're describing it as anywhere from 30 seconds long to 15 minutes in length. So anything that's content, anything that is not an ad. And that kind of falls into three buckets. One is brand entertainment, obviously, web series or webisodes, and ancillary content, right? We're seeing a lot of material that is getting added to TV and film releases as kind of original material on its own, except it's being additive, right, to the original property. So, in a nutshell, what we're doing, we have three types of syndication that AlphaBird's involved with. One is editorial syndication. I think this is probably the most important element of what we're doing and what's happening in video syndication in general. That means editorial placement of video content. Again, not an ad. Someone created a show, they invested a lot of money in that show, and the last thing you want to do is devalue that content by running it essentially in an ad unit. So what we're doing is we're actually taking that video content and we're going to an iVillage or another great web property, and we're convincing the editor to take that video content and actually place it in page, treat it as if it's their content, and incentivize and get the user to click on a thumbnail or something similar to actually watch the video. So that's what we're defining as editorial syndication. We also do player syndication. I think a lot of you guys know in the audience out there that there's more and more video producers that are licensing their own video player. They're putting it in, they're kind of customizing their own video player. They're running ad networks in there to monetize it. They sell their own ads against it. And then they have a big problem, which is no one's watching this stuff. There's no audience for it. So again, that's where we come in. We go out and we distribute that player to other websites and get audience. That's really the key problem, we think, in the online video industry. And then YouTube. This is kind of a bit of a new development. I'd say in the last 6 months, if you guys have all kind of followed kind of development and progress of YouTube. And in the beginning, as you know, it was, okay, we got to get our video content on YouTube. That's key. And so that was what the first phase in the last couple of years. Call it in the last half a year to a year, outside of some great viral successes, everyone's like, why is no one watching my video content? So we're now getting engaged to do the same thing, which we do for our normal business, but guaranteeing audience on YouTube. That means getting official YouTube video counts from 4,100 views to 4.1 million views. That's a really big deal, because as you guys have seen, if you look at kind of Google TV and Apple TV, et cetera, if you're building, when you invest distributing video content to other websites, that's cool, that's our model, but what happens is when you turn a campaign off, it just disappears. Video content goes away. So with YouTube, it's entirely different, right? Because you've got channels. You're managing a channel on YouTube. You're building a series there. People are liking it. They're friending it. They're telling other people. It's almost living as a channel like you would within cable television. And even, I think, more importantly now, as you see with Google TV, all of television in the next, we think, call it 2 to 4 years, is all going to be IP-based television. That means YouTube attached to Google becomes an extremely big deal as it relates to television. So influencing where video content shows up through your YouTube channel becomes a much bigger deal than just being on YouTube. You're actually now reaching people on a television set. So again, our bottom line there is we're getting the plane off the runway. There are viral successes. We've seen a lot of them here today, but the reality of it is, at least in our world, that's 1 in 100, excuse me, 1 in 1,000. It's very tough to get massive breakout hits. So you got to get that plane off the runway. So I already talked about editorial syndication. I think we kind of covered that. Again, user-initiated, really key, these editorial placements in the page. I think the last important piece there is transparency. And I came from an ad network. I used to run distribution for ValueClick, which is one of the largest ad networks out there. As we all know, if you're distributing through an ad network, there's not a ton of transparency. In fact, it's kind of an oxymoron. It's because we always hear these horror stories. You buy the mom channel, and you end up on, right, E-Bombs World or something like that. So in our model, it's about full transparency. You are actually choosing and handpicking where these sites go. This is kind of a broader assessment here. So our entire thesis of the business is that advertising is becoming content. It absolutely has to become content because users are getting constantly bombarded and on a daily basis on the web with advertising, and in particular with video advertising. So not only now are they being bombarded, but they're being annoyed, right? So look at autoplay, auto sound video. Right? I'm sure we've seen all of that. Go to a page and boom, it's just like blasting at you. It's insane. So not only are you being bombarded, but now you're being completely annoyed by it. In fact, you're hurting the brand. So Alex Rowland, who's my co-founder of the business sitting here in the front, did this chart for Media Post. He writes regularly, did this engagement chart about video. And we think it actually holds up pretty well still. It's published about 3 months ago. Online video, I mean, there's really 2 functions, right, in terms of engagement. There's intent. Does someone want to watch something? Are they going to express intent to watch something? And then there's attention. Am I actually paying attention to it? And am I hanging through and watching it? So if you look at the bottom of the curve, like I just described, you've got in-banner autoplay. So you've got autoplay, auto sound. It's starting. Yeah, you got a little bit of attention, but it probably shouldn't even be on this chart. It should be like below it. You've got pre-roll. Yes, a lot of money being spent on pre-roll, and yes, attention. But what's the attention there for? You know, the attention is there because you're waiting for your content. So there's 0 intent there. Interstitials, same kind of idea. Incentivize in-game video views. You guys have probably been hearing more and more about that. Virtual goods, Zynga, models like that. That is good stuff. Yeah, you are having a lot of attention because you're waiting for your payoff, right? With your virtual good at the end of watching the video. But again, there's no intent. So cross up to the other top of the curve, and you've got some models that we think work really well. We think actually a lot of advertising on the internet is moving from impression-based advertising to engagement-based advertising, to actually buying audiences, buying engagements. Why buy a banner, right, or a billboard to reach moms when I can just go buy the moms? And that's really kind of one of the revelations of just the internet advertising business in general. So if you look at in-banner click-to-play, you guys have probably, some of our competitors do that a lot. And that's actually a good model. Right? You got a 300 by 250 unit. You've got, someone puts a YouTube player in there. You see a little button, nothing auto plays. And then someone clicks to actually watch that video. And that's good. Someone expressed intent, that's there. There's attention there as well. The problem with that model, it's a good one. It's the right idea, except that you're in an ad unit, right? Again, you're devaluing your content. An ad is still an ad. The user still sees that right up in the upper right corner, that 300 by 250, thinks of it as an ad. In-page click-to-play, there's the blatant Alphabet promotion. That's what we're doing, obviously. Content in the page, user expressing intent, clicking to want to watch it. It's a big deal. When that intent is expressed to watch it, think of you as the brand. And I created a really cool series, and now someone's going to actually click and actually want to watch that and make it 80% of the way through. I mean, that's huge if you're a brand advertiser. And then the benchmark we actually believe is YouTube. Sponsored video views. You guys probably have seen a lot of that. That's actually becoming quite a large business. for YouTube in our understanding. You've got both the intent and the attention. Users expressing intent through doing search queries on YouTube. I want to go recipes on this, or I want to see this band, or whatever the search query may be. The Google model. It works great. Part of the reason why they bought YouTube, obviously. So you've got the search intent, and then you've got the sponsored video views that come up in the search results, and you've got someone clicking on that. You have two pieces of intent, and then, again, the attention, right? Because you clicked, searched once, got the intent, clicked again, watched it, and then hopefully made it through. That's a great model. We actually think YouTube is setting the benchmark pricing for click-to-play video in the market. And just kind of on a side note, I mean, that pricing we're seeing or hearing is anywhere, and you guys probably know this, there's some media buyers out there, that's anywhere from 15 or 20 cents per engagement, up to $1 or north. Okay, so I'm going to speed up here because I'm going to get James on because he's got some very specific details in some of these campaigns that he's been running and with us. Final note here is we are announcing something that's not official, and that is production financing. What we're seeing is there's a lot of video producers out there pitching brands to create branded entertainment series, and the problem you have is, yeah, Kraft is going to commit to investing in a show, but they view branded entertainment as a media buy. So if it's viewed as a media buy, what does that mean? That means the video producer doesn't get paid until net freaking 120 or net 180. I've seen that before. So we'll actually be announcing soon that we will be fronting production costs to specific brand entertainment producers and series that already have a media buy, or excuse me, a brand attached to it, and we actually put that money up so that they can actually not go out of pocket on creating that production. With that said, I'm going to bring up James Smith to take us into the details of his campaign. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to riff off what Chase said about advertising becoming content, because it was one of the, I think, probably the biggest revelations that the Disney company, I think, hit in the face about 2 years ago. Obviously, I think our entire brand and history has been in creating really valuable and unique content and heart threads and telling stories. From a digital perspective, we were trying to identify what we want it to be, and what you'll see in the next 12 to 14 months is a pretty progressive model with acquisitions of Playdom and Tabulous in the online gaming and mobile space. You'll see a pretty unique approach to not only distribution, but access to entertainment online. And to continue off that conversation, what does that mean to brands, and how will brands be affected by that? I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes on an example of how this occurs and how we see it in our perspective. But let's be clear, one of the things that is happening case over case over case that we see in the marketplace is the fact that there is this collision that's occurring between what's happening with distribution syndication models on TV and what brands are trying to accomplish online, what distribution mechanisms are being engaged for content online, and how those brands can play into effect. And when that all collides online, you see a number of different things. What we're seeing immediately is that integrations in digital are really the key to the medium. The fact that folks can push the envelope, and there's high engagement, and there's unique things that you can do to reach your audiences. Michael's panel was excellent in talking about that. You saw the bubble example from the earlier videos that are just super engaging, and digital's great for that. But at the end of the day, media is just being leveraged, and we're a premium publisher, and we obviously drive a series of revenue streams from digital. But what we're seeing is this integration and this distribution of online content, and custom video is driving all the media purchases, and it's coming from the irrefutable performance, the research, and the ability to actually showcase what's occurring online. That and the kind of the crossing of the chasm that continues. I mean, video killed the radio star, but as we see it right now, DVR and iTunes and Hulu are absolutely taking chunks out of what's occurred to the 30. And the traditional 30 as we know it, though I would argue Hulu's doing a great job of reinventing what that is as we speak. Video hunger and competition in that marketplace will continue the proliferation to video online with Facebook and with MySpace even still, and obviously with YouTube. But the shelf life of brand entertainment in the digital space is much different. The return on investment is much different. A brand can take the same budget they invested, for instance, in a 30 that ran in Prime, and get 6 months, a year, 18 months out of that same investment with a digital distribution model. And I'll showcase that in just a second here. So it's not a question of will it happen or is it happening. It's happening right now. And you saw some of the early examples of, obviously, in the motherhood that then actually made it onto TV. We could talk about the success about that another time. Big money behind it between Sprint and Suave. I think one of the next big pieces in the last 18 months was an interesting piece by Frito-Lay called A Woman's World. And again, these are very unique to the moms and kids marketplace. I'll showcase these examples, which we run into. Clorox doing a bunch with Garden Party with Jenny Garth. This was an interesting thing, Jen and Barb in the Mom's Life, Procter & Gamble. Another piece by General Mills with Bake Space, which is a 24-month year-round community that is both viral, social, as well as just a really unique premium publishing play. A very interesting and kind of kitschy piece of brand entertainment produced by American Family with American Family Insurance called In Gale We Trust. Maybe many of you have seen that as well. And another example of Kraft getting behind the women of Philadelphia. So in general, you're looking at Fortune 100 companies pushing millions of dollars out of what used to be TV into digital executions for that longevity and that return on longer term investment. So I'll give you a quick case study of an example from a partner of ours, Clorox. And they came to us just about 18 months ago with a pretty obvious problem, not really a problem, but their objective with their products. And at the end of the day, they said they wanted to reach moms. They wanted to reach moms in a different way. They wanted to try to get more measurable and stronger data to back the investments they were making on a large scale to hit moms. They wanted to run multiple brands into that interaction, that relationship with the mom. And they wanted to do things that were specific to the product. They wanted to increase that household penetration, but also the load capacity and the number of times that the product was used. And they wanted to create that what they call a hero effect with the product, which was basically allowing that product to make mom or the person that was doing the laundry in their homes a hero in some way, shape, or form, making just a better family experience and tie to the product. They wanted differentiation, they wanted community, and at the end of the day, they wanted to increase purchase intent and brand lift, which is the majority of the tactics behind most online and digital. So the solution was something that we came up with. We got our producers in a room, we went in, they knew that they wanted this to have a foundation in digital, but they knew that they were going to use cross-platform throws, if that was throws from their 30s and on air or in TV, or if that was print or whatever other vehicles that they had. So we got into a room, we created some wet cement, we took some ideas, and we came up with this idea. We said, let's create this is interesting timing, was around the time the economy was starting to get rough near the election, and people weren't going to ski trips for holidays anymore, and they weren't spending all their time out on weekends going to dinners. They were making the home a better place to be with their families, and they're investing in that exact idea. So we said, why don't we grab some talent. We grabbed, in this case, Courtney Watkins. She's kind of the Martha Stewart of the new millennium. She's hip, she's cool, she's camera friendly. She's not too big yet. She did some of the morning shows, and she had some camps and some books for kids, but she wasn't off the charts, but very kitschy and had a good grab with moms. And we said, why don't we create a scripted, really interesting episodic series of videos. We'll run them every 2 weeks, and we'll draw moms in. We'll create an atmosphere where moms can actually take part with their families and see ways to make their home this endless case of possibilities. And with that came a number of different, obviously, add-ons and appendages, sweepstakes, downloadable versions, extensions to YouTube, extensions to Facebook. But basically, a branded entertainment experience, a scripted series of shorts that had thematic adjacencies from the brand in throughout the content, including custom interstitials that included talent and also, obviously, thematic adjacencies to the overall script of the episode itself. And the net of this was huge success. And these aren't just colossal numbers from a standpoint of, could you get this distribution in television, or could you get this kind of yield in a portal partnership? But these numbers with pure play moms are interesting, and I'll tell you why, because of the performance. But obviously, Verse Videos out of the gate, immediately with no brand recognition to the Possibility Shop, a show we created and syndicated with Alpha Bird, but created with the Jim Henson Company. Immediately out of the gate was getting 400,000 to 500,000 video starts in the first couple of days per video, often running at over 4 to 5 million total video starts throughout the thing. But the interesting part, outside of the press and all the great things and the happiness with the client, was the performance. And at the end of the day, when I said digital media is leveraged in the convergence of this online or on-air to online brand entertainment, that's exactly what's happening, because the click-through rates on the media, the specifics around the dollars behind the investment were off the charts. 21% click-through rates on fixed media around all the videos. For those digital folks in the room, the industry average is less than 1%. From a standpoint of view-through, 71% view-through past the interstitial. That's at a 4-minute mark. We saw folks were actually watching at least, unique users were actually watching between 3 and 4 videos per visit. So incredibly sticky and incredibly viral from a standpoint of folks watching it, passing it around, and we measured every time that was pushed, ripped, or pulled. I think this is the interesting stuff, because this is the stuff that's not out there yet. People have not had a really successful, I guess, they've been very successful, but we've not done a good job as an industry in managing the digital delivery of brand entertainment through video online. And we've pushed that envelope a bit. So what we saw with this series was not just brand favorability going up, but what you'll see here is obviously that going up 20 points, which is good. But the big piece to this is where the rubber meets the road, and it's right here. It's from a standpoint of purchase intent and likelihood to recommend the product. When you can see a 30 to 32% lift in purchase intent based on somebody watching a piece of video and an entertainment that they opted into, again, off the charts. Industry standards for this on the high end are between 6 and 7%, and this is very hard stuff to get. We've pushed the envelope in general through syndication with Alphabet and some partnerships on the research side, where we've actually measured for companies like Microsoft and with products like Xbox, purchase through point of sale, not only to brick and mortar, but to e-tailers. And we've measured exactly what those returns are. So I'd be happy to walk through any of those examples if anybody wants to follow up afterwards. I think we're short on time. But just to give you a quick view of what it looks like.
Welcome to a whole new season of the Possibility Shop. What's different this season? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm renovating and innovating, making you, moms and parents, my main customer. Consider the shop your ultimate resource to get your family creating, exploring, and talking together. When you pop in the shop, I'll have just the thing you need, whether it's making a full-of-heart gift, an idea for family game night, or an artful celebration for the holidays. See you soon.
So yes, very Disney, very pixie dust, but very much a sweet spot for moms, and it's gangbusters from a brand perspective. So what distribution means for us is it's a 75-25 piece, okay? We've got, Disney does this a lot. They have a tendency to do this with IP, and what we didn't want to do when we went through this was do that. We wanted to say, okay, we've got a unique piece of IP, or we've got just something that's great, but we need to get it out there. So what we do is we basically went into the 75-25 model. Obviously, we have a unique audience with moms. We're going to distribute this on our network, 75% of the reach, and obviously with our network, as you see there. The key here was the syndication piece outside of that. How do we drive, oh, can we go back one actually? Yeah, how do we drive and actually get this thing syndicated outside of our network, and what is the right amount? So the key to us was actually going like this and giving the content away. After we created it, it became something that we wanted to pervade throughout the net. Clorox got to use this obviously on their corporate sites. They got to use this on their Facebook page. They use this on their YouTube pages. They use this on closed circuit at Costco, and they just started syndicating and pushing these pieces outside. We worked with Alphabet to syndicate these on all of our competitors' sites, on portals. We wanted to get this product out to the marketplace in every way, shape, or form. All of these pieces pushed back to the program where it lived into the Disney household. All it did at that point was continue to fester and to foster the program and the performance itself within that distribution plan. So the next chapter, where does it go? And just to wrap things up, I know we're short on time. What we see, and Chase and I were talking about this morning, the trends are evident. Syndication is becoming much more progressive. I know a lot of folks in this room are on the TV and the studio side, but from a digital piece point of view, I look forward to seeing how things cross, not only from a TV perspective, but also from a studio perspective. Large deals are consuming budgets, and we see alliances already beginning to not commoditize, but definitely to drive prices down. Portals and publishers are forging relationships. Studios are forging relationships. Syndicators are forging relationships. So it's interesting to see how these partnerships will continue to move this whole piece along. And at the end of the day, the research and the digital-driven KPIs and those key performance indicators are becoming the backbone. And as we can explore those in more detail and actually put that return of investment behind that branded entertainment concept and the syndication and distribution of it, which we haven't been able to do a huge degree behind on-air, I think this movement will continue to go forward. And at the end of the day, those proven executions will win the dollars. And knowing that we've got to wrap up, if you have questions, feel free to email me, and I'd love to talk through this stuff with you another time.